What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you guys about the Battlefield 1 single player. Over the weekend we had a bunch of footage which came out, and there was so much stuff. There's like 12 minutes of coverage from different YouTubers, 3 minutes and 2 minutes of other stuff that they didn't put up, and there's absolutely a ton up on the internet right now if you go and look for it. Now, with all this information around, I kind of wanted to go up and sort of put it all in one video, cover it, and really give you an idea what it looks like on screen as well. So now the first thing that is very obvious about the campaign is that there really is different characters. I'll go through all the different characters now, but we don't yet know how this is going to work. If it's going to be like GTA 5 where we go back and forth, we choose which character to do which, they have different missions. I don't imagine it's going to be like that. I imagine it will be more, we do mission or two with this character, we go and play this character again, do mission or two, kind of like it was back in World at War, except with obviously more characters. Now, to cover all the characters, the first one there is as a tank driver who's in a new position. He's just got this, and it's near the end of the war, and so far all we know about his name is that he's Edwards. Like I said, he's the tank driver. He basically says to go forwards, to go backwards in the tank. That's all he controls. But the people he's in the tank with, there's also people called Finch. I believe Finch is with the right gun operator, and then McManus, who is the left gun operator, and of course the captain, Townsend. Now, they are driving a British Mark V tank, the most advanced one of all of those tanks to come out with World War I, and this tank actually has a name, which is Big Bess. Kind of a typical name, but a cool story anyway, and hopefully that they don't borrow from Fury too much, and they actually try and make a unique story. So now the second character we have is a Middle Eastern woman who is working alongside with T.E. Lawrence, that is Lawrence of Arabia, who is an extremely interesting character in history. So it's so cool that we actually have somebody who is working alongside him. Now she will actually be following T.E. Lawrence's adventures as he goes to the Middle East. He sabotages Ottoman trains, German trains, things like that. And hopefully we can actually get like a sort of insight into T.E. Lawrence from the Battlefield perspective. It might sound weird to say that I want a perspective of T.E. Lawrence, but there really isn't much out there aside from a film or two about the character, so it's really cool to actually get modern people interested in T.E. Lawrence. Now imagine there will be a character arc as well with this character, seeing as it is with T.E. Lawrence and is a woman in the Middle East. I imagine she'll maybe become, changing things, going from being non-accepted to being more accepted in the community. I think that's probably going to happen. There definitely seems to be a certain German that she has a hatred for. They blow up a train, he has some things to say, and also appears one or two more times as well. Now for the next character, this guy has appeared an awful lot. This is the black American who is supposedly working, or is supposedly in the Hellfighter Squadron. This was a squadron that was sent by the Americans to work with the French, and it was made out of all black soldiers. Now they basically said to the French, we don't want these guys, you have them. And the French surprisingly went, yeah, okay, we'll use these guys, and they actually turned out to be very effective. Now we don't know if this guy has any important role or anything. We haven't really seen much of him, but he is usually at the forefront of most of the trailers. He's at the very end of 2 trailers where he's holding a gun facing a German. The Germans do the exact same thing, and they choose not to shoot each other. So whether or not that other German will become a part of the story or not, or if he's just there for that one scene, who really knows, and what importance this character has overall. Next we have an Australian sniper and his son or apprentice. Now the reason I say he's Australian, first of all, if you don't know who I'm talking about, right, this is the guy with the blue hat, or the blue shirt. He's got a hat on and a sniper rifle, of course. Now the reason I think he's Australian is because there's been few informations, like 1 or 2 lines in the trailer. He seems to have a slight Australian voice to him, also the fact that it's by the sea, and it makes sense because Gallipoli, which was a huge conflict for the Australians, was a massive part of World War I. And it does seem like this is by the coast and very much typical of what Gallipoli looked like. And again, it just makes sense to have it in the game, seeing as it was a huge part, and it seems almost unfair to just leave it out. Now, I don't know if he's sort of actually part of the army and is like wearing different clothing to everyone else, or if he's come over sort of free corps and is working with the army as sort of a mercenary sort of thing. Who really knows? But it actually seems like a pretty interesting character. Now next up we have the 2 people who I'm most excited for and seem the most interesting. There's 2 people who will be in a plane, the American and a Brit. The American will be piloting, and the Brit is actually a war photographer. Now so far they seem to have good chemistry, they laugh a bit when they're flying around taking photos and stuff like that. But now the most interesting part is that the pilot appears to try and kill the photographer.
Promise me that you'll get me back in one piece. Okay, I promise.
There's a certain scene where in the trailer they say the honourable and then the criminal, and it turns to this guy swinging a plank of wood towards who is the photographer. Now the reason I say he's the photographer is because in another trailer we've seen the pilot holding a wooden plank facing down at the photographer. If maybe this is different characters, they just look extremely the same, then, you know, who knows what happens. But to me it does really seem like that is actually a thing, where the pilot is going to turn on the photographer, or the photographer does something, or maybe he's him dying and the pilot thinks, I'll put him out of his misery now. Who really knows, but that does actually seem like a really interesting side story that I actually can't wait to find out what it's about. Now these guys were mainly going over the Alps. We've seen a lot of snowy stuff, and no other snowy conflict was done in World War I except for the Alps, so maybe that's going to happen, and it actually seems pretty cool, especially seeing as you get to fly a plane a lot. Now for the final one, there's possibly two characters we don't know. When they say the honourable in the trailer, two characters sort of hug each other, and the one has a beanie and the other one has a stubble of a beard and short hair. Now we don't actually know who these guys are at all, but the guy with the beanie might be Finch, who actually has a beanie and works within the tank. But the guy with the beard, we have no idea who he is. Maybe he is somebody in the trailer and I just haven't put the two faces, matched them up and said, yeah, that's the same character, but we don't really know, so I think this is when we have to wait for the full game to find out who these guys are. Like I said, we don't know if it's going to jump back and forth in the stories, or you can complete one story then another story. I wouldn't like that. I prefer jumping back and forth. It just adds much more of a dynamic, and you can sort of have cliffhangers and stuff like that, make it really interesting rather than just, oh look, you completed this story, now go and do this one. And before I finish, I would like to say, I kind of wish there was a Russian in there for the Russian Revolution, which is a huge part after World War I, and maybe even a German getting another perspective on the war. Occasionally we always see the war from our perspective. I'm sure there are films out there that have done that. All Quiet on the Western Front being a good example of a story from a German perspective. But I'd still like to see it within a video game where we can actually feel so much more immersive in their story. So far the Battlefield 1 campaign looks amazing, and I cannot wait for it. I'm tempted to try and cover the whole game and put it all up on YouTube, but I really don't know if I'll do that well or not. So I'll have to see what I'll do about that. Maybe I'll just do a couple of levels and put them up. I don't want to rush it this time, and I'd rather cover multiplayer as opposed to campaign, because that's what I did last year, and it worked pretty well. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.